I am a person of schedules and organization. Like I have to be in front of my girls' schedule. It was to the point where I would put them to sleep and then I would be up working on the program, digital situation, every letter, every graphic, all the edits. And so that was a large undertaking itself. But I just planned.
Welcome to another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. Tonight, we're at the Women Counsel of Realtors annual fashion fair event, and I get to sit down with some wonderful organizations to talk about their programming and what they have going on. And right now, we're interviewing Tyler and Amanda, and they're with the Special Olympics of Northern California. Tyler and Amanda, welcome to Queen's Vantage Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So Tyler, I'll start with you. Can we start by talking about the mission and goals of the organization?
Sure. So Special Olympics Northern California is a nonprofit here in the Bay Area and all throughout Northern California that's part of a global organization. And our mission is to provide programs and services for people with intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
Through sports and in schools and in health and leadership to give them opportunities, and then those opportunities can transform into better lives on and off the field.
Great. And can you tell me a little bit how the organization has evolved over the years?
Sure. So Special Olympics started in 1968, so we are more than 50 years.
Okay.
Here in California, Northern California, we're 25 years. And we've grown so much. We now have 27,000 athletes.
Wow.
All across Northern California. And it continues to grow, which is very exciting for us because there's so many more people out there that can get involved.
Nice. So I would love to hear some inspiring stories and how your organization has helped individuals. And Amanda, we're going to jump over to you in just a second.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I'll flip it over to Amanda too.
Okay.
But again, the real power of Special Olympics is that we use the power of sports, and people can compete in sports and be part of a team, which is not, sometimes they don't have that opportunity. Like a lot of people growing up in school and different things, they're not able to be a part of those teams. So we allow them to be part of those teams, build friends, build friendship, make bonds. And that just transforms so much into life, to get jobs, to live independently and do those types of things. And Amanda is an amazing example of one of our athlete leaders who has really flourished through the leadership program. So, Amanda, what are some of the impacts that Special Olympics has had for you?
Well, like you just said, Tyler, the athlete leadership program has been one of the things that has really helped me flourish. I remember particularly when I first joined the program back in 2019. I don't know what Tyler thinks of me now, but back then I was late. And I had to kick somebody out of their seat because I was late and ended up sitting in the back and being vision impaired. I'm like, I need to sit in the front. So I don't know if I had privilege with Tyler at that time. Probably not, because I was late and but I definitely went ahead and redeemed myself, and I've been able to be part of campaigns. I've been able to lobby Congress. I've been able to be part of podcast just like this, and I think it's really just been a learning journey, not only for just myself, but I think just the overall organization, that we are dismantling stereotypes for those with intellectual disabilities. And you never know what you're going to get when you see a Special Olympics athlete. You know, they can be amazing and talented in sports, but they can also be able to, give a speech spontaneously on the spot, kind of like what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So can you share what you think has been most impactful for you since joining the organization?
Just another shout out to leadership, being able to use my voice. And I think that is what is most important to me. And I believe that one of the stigmas of persons with intellectual disabilities is that we can't speak for ourselves, which is completely untrue. I mean, I've done it. I've seen several of My friends do it all around the world. We have amazing athlete leaders all throughout the world, Canada, Australia, Africa, and, just experiencing their stories, whether it be, just online or in person, it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for sharing, because Queen's Vantage Podcast is all about women's empowerment. Tyler, of course, we're so happy to have you here. But when I first started this podcast, it was really about empowering women, because I believe that fundamentally women actually go back into our communities and empower others. So I just love from the very beginning, from actually asking someone to get out of your seat to what you're doing now and joining our podcast and speaking up and sharing the stories of other individuals. So thank you so much, and you're right along with our mission. So I'm so excited to have you here tonight.
Perfect.
Yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to ask, because I think sometimes folks just don't know how to get involved. So can you talk about what other opportunities that folks in the community can get involved, if there's actually any need for the organization, and just what can we do, what can our listeners do to really help out with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our programs, we've described the sports, up to 11 different sports in our schools, our health resources for athletes. Yeah. It's all free, completely free for the athletes and families. Mm-hmm. I have to tell some people sometimes doesn't mean it's free in general, right? Yeah. So we can always use donations, funding support. We have a lot of need for volunteers, always volunteers at special events, and coaches. Yeah. Sports is the heart of what we do, and coaches are the heart of those teams. Yeah. And talk to any Special Olympics coach, and they'll always say they get more out of it than even they think the athletes do, because they get to build those relationships and see different people from different backgrounds, put themselves in their shoes, and really gain like that. So local volunteers, financial support, and coaching is always ways to get involved. And even just to come out to local competition, you don't have to, it's free to come out. You can just cheer and just immerse yourself in it, and you'll probably come back.
Very nice. Thank you. And so later on, at the end, I'm going to give an opportunity for both you and Amanda to tell folks how they can find you, whether it's on social media, the website of the organization, or just how folks can find you to get involved. But I wanted to ask the question. So are there any upcoming events? So is there anything that you're having? I know a lot of organizations around this time are hosting galas. Is there anything that you would like to invite our listeners to?
Yeah, so depending on where you are, we have our actual big fall championship games next weekend, November 4th.
Well, we don't want to miss that. That's right around the corner.
That is next weekend. Yeah, we're getting very excited for that. That's in near the Sacramento area. We have a floor hockey championship coming up in Pleasanton. So a lot of our competitions. And then in the early next year, we have our Polar Plunge event, which is our biggest fundraiser. Okay. So if anybody's brave enough to go jump in the bay or the lake in the winter,
it won't be me, Tyler.
That's all right. That's all right. You can come out and cheer us on.
I'll come out and cheer.
Yeah. So those are our big upcoming events.
Okay, very nice. So COVID-19, which was a beast within itself, changed the way that a lot of us do work. Can you talk about the impacts? Because I think a lot of times, especially for nonprofit organizations, even after an epidemic or whether there's a natural disaster in the world, many of our organizations were struggling long before, right? Whatever happens. And so I'm just curious to know how COVID-19 actually impacted your organization, because I think folks move on, but sometimes we still have those ramifications.
Yeah, so for Special Olympics, we adapted like everyone else, had a lot of virtual programs, which I'll let Amanda touch on in a minute. But we're trying to build back up, because we lost some athletes who went on to different things, some coaches that went on to different things. And we're just starting to see kind of the numbers ramp up again from people being comfortable coming out to large scale events and things again. Yeah. But during COVID-19, we had a lot of virtual programs, and Amanda was a part of a lot of those. Do you have some favorite things that you did that we had to do during the pandemic?
I personally loved, this was being thrown back to what I was saying about making friends kind of all over the world. One of my favorite things to do was I got to crash these Zoom meetings with Special Olympics Maryland. And there was an athlete who actually said, I was like, guys, I have to get ready to go. I have to do something for Northern California. One of the athletes remarks, oh, just tell Tyler that you like us better and don't go to your meeting. So it's been fun getting to know how other states work and how other states have been able to offer various trainings. Side note, I'm actually a certified athlete leader in the state of Illinois.
Oh, wow.
Because I actually got to take their training online. I can't give any speeches in Chicago like I wanted to, but I am certified.
Very nice.
Yeah, there's some silver linings there, which is bringing everyone together without having to travel. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Amanda, you touched on this earlier when you talked about breaking down the stereotypes and barriers.
Yes.
And so I wanted to just dive into that a bit and just better understand. So how is it that your organization really fosters a community where you're breaking down those stereotypes so that folks feel empowered to use their own voices?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think once again through the creation of, once again, those virtual programs, that everybody is included. I mean, you can basically, take these classes from your house and just, feel included to say, you know what, I am now an athlete leader, or I am now a certified health messenger, and now I can go out into my community, whether it be a virtual space or whether it be a physical space, and say that I can help others not only with intellectual disabilities, or but also the medical communities further understand how to treat somebody with an intellectual disability.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. Tyler, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, that was amazing. We also have programs in schools,
Okay.
Which brings together students in special education with students in general education.
Yeah.
A lot of times those are very separated populations, and school's tough for a lot of people, but especially people with disabilities or special needs. And we found that sports is a fun common ground that brings people together and breaks down some of those stereotypes, as you were saying and Amanda was saying early on, which then leads to positive futures in the community. Once you find out we're all more alike than we are different, and even if you look different or talk different than I do, we probably share a lot of the same values and same interests and things.
Yeah. What I love about what you're doing is it really is promoting unity, because we're more alike than we are different.
Absolutely.
And we just need to keep spreading that word and spreading joy so that folks understand that, like, what actually makes us different makes us stronger. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about any future goals and aspirations of the organization?
So just growing, again, reaching more athletes. There's a lot of people out there that don't know about our programs, either that can participate as athletes or that can get involved as volunteers in different areas. And so just trying to grow, really spread that mission of inclusion into the community and have that spread beyond sports. And again, like you said, just realizing we're all more alike than we are different, but it's our differences that make us all unique, and those should be celebrated and not put down.
Yeah. And Tyler, I'm just curious to know, what got you involved with the organization and what keeps you going every day?
So I started volunteering as a coach, actually.
Okay.
Like I said, and then I kept coming back, and I just fell in love with it. And it's an amazing opportunity. I get to hang out with amazing people like Amanda every day, and just to see the difference that it makes in people's lives. And even those small things that maybe you don't think are that important could be really important to somebody else. And little moments like that you see this is really impactful, and that definitely wants me to keep doing it more.
That's awesome. And Amanda, how did you first find out about the organization?
Yeah, so my mom was actually reading the local paper, and we found out that there was going to be a track meet at the local high school. And I actually just had eye surgery, so I was kind of feeling depressed, so I really didn't want to go anywhere at that time. But you know how persuasive moms can be.
I'm a mom of 3, so trust me, I get it.
So I end up going to this track meet, and I'm, just kind of sitting there like, when is something going to happen? And then I hear the Special Olympics oath, which is, let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. And I said, I want to do that. How do I get to do that? So I ran around trying to find somebody who could tell me, how would I get to speak for this organization?
Yeah, that's
no luck.
That's amazing. Well, listen, before we get out of here, Amanda, I know that you have a poem that you'd like to share with our listeners. And so your camera's just over there. Would you be just so kindly to grace us with your poem?
Absolutely. All right, this is my latest poem called Look at Me. Look at me, and you will see confidence. You will see something that is rarely represented among us. And heaven forbid that society sees someone like me being given a chance to flourish in this industry. I was told because of my disability, I wasn't worth it. I wasn't smart, and I would never be perfect. Little passion for fashion, and a larger passion for world change. See what you think of autism now, they will definitely make sure that they recall my name. Amanda, I've got this. When I walk down that red carpet, I have the opportunity to shine. No one will be able to deny the fierce attitude that I bring when I represent those with disabilities. Women's Counsel of Realtors, thank you so much for allowing me to represent not only fashion, but those with disabilities. I thank you so much for allowing me to be myself, and now I will continue to march off into the crowd. Thank you.
Amanda, I don't think I have much more to add. Thank you so much for sharing your poem. That was absolutely beautifully written.
Thank you.
I am honored to sit down with both of you here on Queen's Vantage Podcast. I hope you'll come back. Before we get out of here, is there any advice that you'd like to give to our listeners tonight?
Amanda, do you have any advice?
What? Sounds like you don't have any. Yes, I have advice. Just keep going, and that's just not for people with disabilities. That's for anybody. If you have a goal that you want to reach, if you have a certain heart's purpose, keep going. It's definitely out there, and you will definitely continue to dance with destiny if you keep trying.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda. So listen, that's been another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. And if you're seeing my beautiful guests today, just remember that our crowns may tilt, but as Amanda has proved, they will never fall off. All right? We're done. Oh my gosh,
right.
You did fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a blast.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. I am so honored to be here for the Women Counsel of Realtors MACY'S Fashion Fair event, where I get to sit down with wonderful organizations who are doing so much good in our community. And right now, I am sitting down with Jorge, who is with the Rainbow Community Center.
Hello.
Jorge, welcome to Queen's Vantage Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank
so,
you.
Jorge, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Jorge JC Chamorro. I am the HIV Prevention Manager at Rainbow Community Center in Concord, California.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about the mission of the organization of the Rainbow Community Center and maybe some of its goals.
Well, the mission of Rainbow is very simple. I mean, we just want to build community, equity, and well-being for the LGBTQI plus community. And then our vision is basically, we just envision a society that advocates and celebrates diversity and sexuality, you know, the differences there are, and then just be happy. I mean, basically, that's our vision, you know?
Yeah. And so what inspired the creation of the Rainbow Community Center? And can you talk a little bit about how it's evolved over the years?
Well, I mean, the whole mission was that we wanted to provide services to the community in Contra Costa. I mean, we wanted to provide to the LGBTQI community services, needs that the county has. And we wanted to be a center for our community members to, you know, to seek us for services that they can really find in the world. You know, if, like, for example, testing is something like HIV, STI is something that let's just say in the straight world, it's not something that you don't talk as much as you do in the LGBTQI world. Like, it's in our face. So it's something that we deal with it every day, you know? So so that's one of the reasons why we created the center. You know, to provide services for our community.
Yeah. So when I hear you say the straight community, that shares that there's a division, right?
Yeah, totally there is.
There's a division.
Yeah.
So can you talk about how the Rainbow Community Center really engages the broader community to get them to understand the either some of the issues or challenges that folks in the LGBTQ plus community face?
So mainly the best way is just doing outreach. That's the best way that we get to the community, by doing outreach. When we do major events, that's the best way to get connected with the community. We email blast, we partner with different community partners from the county, and we just outreach. That's just the best way to get in contact with the community.
Yeah.
You know?
So I want to talk a little bit about the range of services that the Rainbow Community Center would you actually provide, because we talked about that behind the scenes, and I think you mentioned a food bank, which is something that folks probably aren't aware that you provide. So if you could talk a bit about the range of services that you provide.
Yeah, we have so many services at the center. We provide mental health services with queer identified clinicians that help our community. We have support groups, social groups, and social and support groups for HIV positive individuals, transitional houseless for our youth. We have our food pantry that we mentioned. We have our youth program. And then we have our HIV prevention program, which I'm from. That's what my area that I work with. And then we have the older adult program for our seniors that we provide lunches. We do interactions with our seniors. And then we have a professional development that we work with different corporations, businesses to teach tolerance, teach about the community, teach about what's going on out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So I know inclusivity is so important.
Yes.
And so can you talk a bit about how you create and how you foster a safe space for folks, where we know in a community that it's not always safe for us to be ourselves?
I mean, there's always so many examples, but I can give you one that literally happened last week, and you see one every week pretty much. But last week we had a youth gathering at the center, and it happens all the time. And I always tell these stories because I see them. A youth came in. First thing this youth went was to go to the bathroom and change, and put a different outfit, look, makeup, perfume, jewelry. And then once before they leave, they go back into that bathroom and change and go back into a different look. So we're providing that space for that member to feel at home, to feel safe, to not to worry that once that person goes out, it's gonna get beat up, bullied, made fun of, attacked. But here you see this person, and this as a father of two, to see a child go in and change so they can be who they are, it's very powerful.
Yeah. So over the history of the Rainbow Community Foundation, and remind me again, how long have you been with the organization?
28 years.
I'm sorry, how many years?
28 years.
28 years. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So clearly you love what you do.
Definitely. I mean, I got in this because I wanted to give back to the community for everything that the community has given me.
Yeah.
I'm in nightlife. I've been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I always took outreach and into my everything I did in nightlife. So I always wanted to give back. I've given back in money-wise as sponsoring events, but I wanted to do it personally, myself. Like, I wanted to give back to the community that has given me for all these years. It's given me a lot.
That's awesome. And we all know giving back is critically important. I mean, none of us could really do the work that we do without support. And so while we're in the essence of storytelling, can you share like one of the most impactful stories? I mean, you've been there for 28 years, so I'm sure that you've seen some really good be done.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, many stories. I mean, I'll tell you two really quick. Last year we do an annual harvest meal. So our next one is coming up in November, and then we pass the mic around just to tell people, talk, and just to hear people talk about and be thankful and saying, thank you for offering this 2 hours so we can be together as a group, and I don't have to be at home by myself. They don't care about the food. It's just the gathering of people in the community to get to know each other. So to me, that's just inspiring. It makes my work continue because that's what we're there for. Like another example is I run one of the support groups, social groups, and then in the county, it's not like San Francisco where it's a big area. It's very small. So to find people to connect, it's hard. So one of the support groups I have, we go out and we do crazy things. We go to movies, we go to restaurants, and then you see sometimes at the end they're connecting and they're making their own plans to go on their own, go out and hang out, which to me, I was like, oh, good. That's what the whole point of this group was, to connect with others. And at the end, you can do your own connections. And to me, that's the reward.
Yeah. So we know in this work, we have the good, and unfortunately, we have the bad. Can you share some of the challenges that the organization has faced throughout the years and how you've overcome them?
I mean, it's simple. One of the main challenges is always funding. The funding is without money, we can provide services. With money, we can provide more services. So it's always a challenge is funding because we depend on funding. That's how a community works. It's by funding grants, and then the best way is just when we unite with the community and then we just say that we need help, and then we talk to politicians. That's just. With the challenge is always going to be funding because it's very important.
Yeah. So listen, that's your camera there. I'd love for you to look at it and talk to the community as a broader community, but also your allies, and talk about how they can get involved with the Rainbow Community Center and how we can all help and support you.
Well, the best way is volunteer. Volunteer to help get to know your community. Funding, whatever you can donate, whoever you can connect us with, however you can help us get more money so we can provide more services. But definitely get to know your center, get to know the community you're with, so you can see the struggles that we go through. Because we all have struggles. If you will get to know the center and hear the stories that with the clients that we have and that we support, it's very. You would definitely say what would happen if the center wouldn't be here. So definitely just get to know your center, volunteer, help with funding, and those are the key things that helps us continue.
Absolutely. So that's a perfect lead into my next question, which is, can you tell our community and our listeners, so what are some upcoming events, campaigns, or projects that you all are working on?
So right now it's November, the holiday season is coming, so we are getting busy. So next week is Dia de los Muertos. On Thursday is Dia de los Muertos, November 2nd. So we are having a fundraiser in Martinez at Del Cielo Brewery. So it's our annual Dia de los Muertos fundraiser. So we have a drag show, we have music, food, and we're trying to raise funds. So please join us, visit our website, and check out and get tickets. And then also later in November is what we have the harvest meal, where we feed people and we have a good time. And so we serve a meal for people and then we share stories and just a good time to hang around. And then later on we do it in December for the winter break. And then we do the same thing, just a gathering for the community members, enjoy a good time and exchange gifts and awards and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, Jorge, this is absolutely amazing. So listen, folks, you can get involved. We will make sure that you have Jorge's, all of his contact information, where you can follow the Rainbow Community Foundation if they're on social. And then also we'll also make sure any events upcoming that we'll share those with you as well. But Jorge, I'm just so curious to ask you why this work is important to you personally.
It's important because when I was... Let's go back to the 90s. Back in the days when I was dealing with who I was confused, there was no internet. There was no, like nowadays, you can just go on your phone and Google whatever. I didn't have a way to research, ask questions, who to go. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what center. What's a center? What is a 14-year-old, like in their mind, their head's going crazy. Absolutely. So I didn't have anyone, support system, friends. And so I always wanted to help people. I want to be able to help those that don't have the help, so they don't make the mistakes that some of us made. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I always think it's important, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start Queen's Vantage Podcast, is because I wanted to share stories to help uplift and empower our community. And so your stories that you've shared today, the work that you've shared that your organization is doing in the community is just absolutely incredible. And Queen's Vantage would just personally like to thank you.
Thank you.
So if you're thinking for the future of the organization, what is the vision of the Rainbow Community Center and for the folks that you serve?
Well, definitely the vision is that we can be financially stable, that we don't have to worry about money, because without money, we have to cut services. We can't provide services. But if we have funding and we have nothing to worry about that, we can provide more services. We can continue adding more services to the center, so we can continue giving more services to the community. So it's all about funding, unfortunately. The more we get, the more we can give. The less we get, the less we give.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Jorge, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to talking more about your organization, whether it's behind the scenes or if you choose to come back onto Queen's Vantage Podcast.
Please, I would love to.
All right. So that's been another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. Remember, the crown may tilt, but it'll never fall off. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Definitely, thank you.
Cleaned up nicely. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast, and I am so honored to be here for the Women Counsel of Realtors Fashion Fair at MACY'S in Walnut Creek. And a part of this, I get to sit down with wonderful organizations who are doing incredible work in our community. And right now, I am so lucky, so blessed to sit down with Renee Richard, who is the CEO and founder of Cinnamon Girl. Renee, welcome to Queen's Vantage Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Ebony. I really appreciate it.
I'm excited to have you here tonight. Renee, as we're getting started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I can. I'm a mother of three. I have three amazing adult children. And I started the organization 21 years ago. I had a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And I started this work because I have my own kids in an amazing school.
Yeah.
And I could see the huge disparity between what my kids were getting and what everyone else's kids were getting.
Yeah.
And so I took my energy and my motivation and I channeled it into an amazing nonprofit.
Very nice.
Yes.
And so let's talk about your nonprofit, which is Cinnamon Girl. Mm-hmm. So tell us a bit about the mission of the organization.
Yeah. The mission is about bringing high-performing girls together and providing them opportunities to interact with amazing C-level women or women that are doing phenomenal things in their community and getting girls experiences that will literally possibly change the way they see the world. And the girls can come and stay within the organization via different cohorts.
Yeah.
And by the time they go to college, they have an amazing college admissions resume.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk a bit about some of the initiatives and programs that your organization currently has and how folks may get involved with you?
Yeah. So the different programs, I basically mentor girls that really want to elevate to high levels of leadership. And so I look at the work that we're doing as a safe space for girls to come together. Many of these girls are attending either very rigorous private schools or they're in the top public schools in AP classes where they are the only girls of their color that's doing phenomenal work.
Yeah.
Those girls have never been in a cohort of other black and brown girls just to break bread, just to say, hey, you go through the same thing I'm going through. They're typically in vanilla environments.
Yeah.
And if they're not in vanilla environments, they're in environments where they're not being treated very nicely by their own peers because they are smart.
Yeah.
And so we create a platform for them to come together, a safe space for them to come, practice their leadership skills, develop a community, and really to have just have a good time and learn some great things.
And so just for some of our listeners that are younger and may not know what a C-level executive is, can you just break that down a bit for our listeners?
It's about women that are running companies, running portions of companies.
Yeah.
It could be community leaders. It could be women that are literally wanting to be at the C level and working really diligently, really hard. And so it's about exposing girls to a certain level of greatness.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So could you share some success stories? And I know that you probably have many, but I would love to hear about some of the success stories and the impact that Cinnamon Girls has had on a lot of the young girls' lives.
Yeah. Okay. One success story comes with a young girl. I won't mention her name because she's still very involved in the organization. But she was attending a Catholic school in San Francisco that was probably one of your top all-girls Catholic schools. And she was on scholarship. And those girls were so rude to her. They were so mean to her because she didn't have the designer sneakers. She wore an off-brand, and she had worn an off-brand all her life, so she really wasn't familiar with the sneakers of the day.
Yeah.
And she went home in tears many days because the kids at school bullied her.
Yeah.
But she continued to work really hard, and she elevated and graduated. And she went on as a cinnamon girl and took every lesson that I gave her in financial literacy. At the time, we were doing a lot of financial literacy with the girls. We taught the girls how to navigate college and how to go to college on a dime, meaning get other scholarships and so forth. So she graduated college, she did Teach for America, got her student loans totally wiped out, went ahead, bought a house in a town in the Bay Area, so very expensive housing, got herself a duplex because she knew she wanted a money-making venture, and just started her own business, came to a Cinnamon Girl fundraiser, and picked up a couple of clients as her first clients. She's working independently, and she's only like 28 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. So in what ways are you addressing these unique issues or challenges that some of the girls are facing? How do you empower them? What are you saying to girls if you were talking to one of the listeners now who are actually facing maybe some of the same issues that you've talked about today? What would you say to someone?
Well, that's the key, is that I wouldn't say anything. I would have her talk to me. I would be the listener. It's really important that our girls feel seen and feel heard. And that's what we do with Cinnamon Girl. We actually create a space where she can talk and share what's on her mind. And she's talking to typically someone who might have a PhD in some subject, might be doing some phenomenal things in their career and is very well educated and can give her just a nugget or two of advice. So the key is not to talk too much at our young kids. It's really about creating spaces where they can have community, and that they can find other kids like themselves, and they could just be themselves without a lot of effort. Because that's what their day is. They go through school and in classrooms just always having to be on top of things, having to perform, having to meet someone else's expectations. And with Cinnamon Girl, everybody is smart. We don't have to do all that, because we know we're all great. So let's support each other.
Yeah, very nice. So one of the things that I'm really hearing about your organization is representation. And I just remember my own personal journey as a young woman of color and growing up in a community that was predominantly Black, but when I had to step outside of that community into my first corporate job, and no one looked like me. And so I think what you're doing now early on is showing girls that there are women out there that look like you, that are doing incredible work, that are leading, whether it's foundations or Fortune 500 companies, whatever it is. And I think that's so key. And so what was representation like for you growing up?
Yeah, it didn't exist. In fact, I had a college, my high school college advisor suggested that I not go to college, that I was not ready. And to me, to tell a student who wants to go to college that they're not ready and that they should try something else or a lesser college, I just think that is horrible, and it's still happening to this day. I have Cinnamon Girls telling me that, their college advisor advised them that they shouldn't aim for a university, that they should start here. And so I just think that representation, when you see someone doing phenomenal things that has come from your community and has dealt with a lot of the trauma that you've dealt with, and they're doing phenomenal, you can therefore say, oh my gosh, where I am right now is not going to determine where I'm going to be. I have to have faith that I can do this, and I can do it because I can see it in front of me. It's already been done.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So that representation is so important. And so as a result, I have 3 cohorts in 4 cohorts. There's a reading cohort.
Okay.
It's called Passport. It's a long story why it's called Passport, because I have a travel program.
Okay.
But that's not it. So the reading cohort is girls reading books written by women of color about girls of color. And then there's a writing cohort where girls literally become published authors. They can write a short story of 4,000 words. They are taught by amazing Black and brown women in master classes. And then they have coaches, women that work with them and keep them on track so they can deliver that 4,000 word short story or 5 poems. and become published authors. And
Wow.
then the next cohort is Entrepreneur Girl, where girls are literally learning how to be their own boss,
Yeah.
how to work for themselves, how to become job creators,
Yeah.
right? And then the fourth cohort is the kind of like the carrot. Like
Yeah.
if you just stick with me for a couple of years, you can travel with me. And so
Yeah.
we have a travel program that enables girls to travel both domestically
Yeah.
and internationally. So this year we took a trip to Washington, D.C. We met the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. We also met Cory Booker, which is one of the young black senators.
Yes.
Actually, Cory's not too young anymore. But the point is that they're meeting leaders, and these leaders are talking their language and telling them how they need to elevate and what it's all about and how to get to these high level leadership positions, right? And then after, and so we did a DC trip, and then we took the girls to Tokyo. We had girls go to the South. I want to talk to you a little bit about our partnerships that make some of these trips possible.
Absolutely.
And then finally, just being able to travel internationally with black and brown girls all over the world. We've gone to 4 different continents at this point, and we're going to continue to go to continents of color. So Europe will be there maybe, but right now we are discovering the entire world. We went to Asia, Africa, South America, and then we're going to Brazil this June.
That is absolutely amazing. Well, let's talk about some of your key partners, because I know in this work, especially in the nonprofit space, it's so critical for us to have partners. So who are some of the partners that are really helping your organization thrive?
Thank you, Ebony. It's so important because we are a boutique organization. We do not bring in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it takes to run a really amazing organization.
Yeah.
So we have these partners that will literally create experiences for our girls. So, for example, an amazing partner that we have is the Bay Area Book Festival.
Yeah.
And literally the Bay Area Book Festival shuts down Berkeley every first weekend of May, and they have the Cinnamon Girls interviewing just phenomenal authors, and not authors of color. They are just authors. And so our girls may have an audience of over 100 people that they're sitting down just like you and I.
Wow.
And my Cinnamon Girls are asking all the questions,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
They are in charge. They're just like Ebony's of the world. And so I love that, right?
Yeah.
Because then it gives her the ability to how to interview someone,
Yeah.
how to engage with a professional who's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So that's one of our partners. And then we have the Commonwealth Club, and they have an amazing travel program, and they've invited the Cinnamon Girls to travel with them. And so the Cinnamon Girls, I just had 2 Cinnamon Girls on scholarship. It was worth over $12,000. The Cinnamon Girls
Congratulations.
went
Yeah.
to the South and did
Yeah.
a hands-on trip understanding the civil rights movement. And
Wow.
that's something that I want to do, but I can't do. So the Commonwealth Club organizes the trip, and then Cinnamon Girls
That's
go and take the
amazing.
trip.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
So how can the community get involved? How can you create
Yeah.
more allies? So I want you to look into your camera over there and really talk to our listeners about, listen, this is coming from the Queen here at Queen's Vantage Podcast. We want you to get involved with the organizations that are doing good work in our community. So Renee, if you can tell our folks how they can get involved.
It's really simple. Their Cinnamon Girl website has everything on it. It's cinnamongirl.org, singular, one word. You go on that website, you can either give of your time, your money, or your expertise. We make it so simple. And then just to contact me, I will work with you and find your skill sets and find what work is going to be the best fit for you so that you can feel fulfilled, and then we can obviously get some great things out of the amazing skills that you can bring to the organization. We're always looking for writers to help coach our girls, writers that might teach our girls in the writing program. But we also need just folks that will plan events for the Cinnamon Girls. So the Cinnamon Girls have fun things to do on a weekend. One of our volunteers is planning a shopping spree for the girls. The girls might be on a treasure hunt. There's all kind of really awesome things that I really could use help with. and people can get in touch with the organization just by going to the website.
Okay. And we'll make sure that we have all of Renee's contact information for the organization, where you can find them online. We will be sure to get that all to you. But I wanted to ask you about the future of the organization and just your vision and where you see the organization, whether it's in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I would love to see cohorts of girls all over the United States.
Okay.
So right now we have girls in probably about 8 states.
Okay.
And I would love to see pods of girls in every single state. I know this organization is not for every cinnamon girl, right? These are for girls who really are high performing. Many of our cinnamon girls are fluent in multiple languages. And so I know this is not for everyone, but for the girls that it is for, I really want to create space for those girls. And so if someone is in New York City and they say, you know what, I'll start a pod here of 10 girls.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Absolutely.
And I would be happy to fly to New York and get it going.
Yeah. Yeah. So to anyone listening to the podcast, if anything that Renee has said in this interview resonates with you, please reach out to the organization, get involved.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're doing
Ebony.
incredible work.
Thank you. And you know,
truly are.
I've been doing this work and I still have energy.
Yeah.
Because it is the Bellas of the world that I want to do
I know.
this for.
Hi, Bella. Shout out, Bella.
Yes.
We have one of the Cinnamon Girls here with us today. So I don't want to miss the opportunity. Are there any events or projects that you'd like our listeners to know about?
Oh my gosh. So there's 2 in particular. So the one is we're just having a pinning event. If you're in the Bay Area, you can come and actually check us out. It's going to be November the 12th. It's a Sunday afternoon, 3:30 to 6. Just come and see and meet the girls and see the work that we're doing. But a key event that's happening in March, and it's going to be on the website fairly soon, and that's going to be a girls' summit. And that is for all girls, black, white, red, and brown. It will be invitation only, but it is an event where it will be about 300 girls coming together to talk about mental health and and how to destigmatize mental health, in particular for girls and girls of color.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Renee, thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing. I truly look forward to keeping in contact with you. We had an opportunity.
You know it's mutual,
Yes.
my sister.
Thank you. It's just been such a pleasure to just get to know you and your organization. And Queen's Vantage is just so honored to have had this moment to sit down with you. So thank you so much.
It's mutual, my friend. It really is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's been another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. As you can see, 2 queens wearing our crowns. We also have a 3rd queen here, Bella. So Bella, wear your crown. And just remember that the crown may tilt, but it'll never fall off.
Oh my gosh, you're so easy to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
Give me a hug.
I will. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. And I am so honored to be here for the Women Counsel of Realtors MACY'S Fashion Fair event. This gala has been absolutely amazing. And I am sitting down with the queen who was in charge of making this an amazing event. And Nia,
Jesus.
you did that, girl.
This has been a major overhaul. It's been a large undertaking, and I'm thrilled to have been able to do it. But I think I'm going to throw in my hat.
Not just yet.
I'm going to throw in the towel. I had an amazing time planning this. I can't lie. Like, the undertaking of making sure all the vendors were of minority, making sure that all of the charities that we selected fit the criteria of what we were looking for as far as the philanthropic work that they do in the community. And if we're thinking about the show and the way ultimately it's supposed to be for bringing together the community, the diversity that we wanted to see in the models, I handpicked all the models, being inclusive in this space. And the biggest thing for me was bridging counties. Contra Costa does a lot of things with a lot of Contra Costa people. And ultimately, I wanted to bring in some of the people from San Francisco. I wanted to bring in Alameda County, Solano County.
Yeah.
So that's why you have a lot of new faces at this event that you probably wouldn't have seen, because I reached out and gave them personal invites. I wanted to see them have that representation here at this event.
Yeah. So Nia, we're going to get into, I'll ask you later about how you got involved with the Women Counsel of Realtors and to be able to undertake this event today. But I mean, I have to speak to, how important inclusivity is.
Yes.
And so, as many of you know, if you've watched past episodes of Queen's Vantage podcast, we had Nia on. Nia is the realtor who sold me my home.
Hey.
And Nia, you knew it was crucial for me. It was so important to me for me to have women of color. So as my realtor and also as my loan officer, and just how important that was to give a woman of color just the opportunity. And now here we are 3 years later, where you have now given me an opportunity, Queen's Vantage podcast, to be in this space where Macy's is shut down.
Shut down.
It's a private event, and we're sitting here on the throne of Queen's Vantage podcast. So thank you so much for your commitment to women of color, to, like you said, organizations that are typically underserved in our communities, and really highlighting us, because that's exactly what you did today. You really shed the light on, from Cinnamon Girls, and congratulations to each of the organizations who were award recipients of Macy's tonight.
Yes.
Congratulations to them. But from the Rainbow Community Center,
all of our vendors, Cooking with Classies, our caterer. I got Fancy Spirits for bartending.
Shout out Fancy Spirits.
Our 360 photo booth, 360 NorCal with Jamal Harper. Our DJ, Marcus Banks. Our MC, Shay Diddy from KML.
We did have Shay Diddy here tonight. Shout out Shay Diddy.
Yes, I was very mindful and very intentional when booking for this event. I wanted to create the space where we're giving back in a major way, and maybe it's not noticed, but all of the vendors are minority. All of the charities, they bring forth that message that we were looking for.
Absolutely.
As far as the inclusivity, even the models, making sure that I had representation of all groups was very big for me. So
and I got a chance to sit in the VIP and see the fashion show tonight. And I really want to shout out LaToya Gilmore, who's here, who's actually a personal friend of mine, but also a realtor in this space. So shout out LaToya Gilmore. We love you. It was so good to see her. But Nia, what was just some of the big ideas? And I know you had many of big ideas really behind this event, and what really drew you to it? So as you're joining the Women Counsel of Realtors, and this is an annual event that they have, but what really drew you to this space?
My first introduction for Women's Counsel was this fashion show 3 years ago. I was very new to real estate, and my productivity coach, I had won a contest, and she had given me free tickets to the show. So that was the first time I got introduced to fashion through Women's Counsel. And I wanted to be a part of the event. It was like, okay, this is dope. This feels exclusive. I know me. I'm going to, jump in both hands. And I have big ideas. I always have. For some reason, I'm just very good with looking at people's businesses or the way that they're doing things and being able to fine tune and come up with new, fresh ideas. And that's all I did for this space. I said, okay, so first of all, I did a poll. I was like, okay, because we've been doing this show or this event in the mornings, and I'm like, that just does not feel like Fashion Week for me. I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to get dressed. I got to get models. And so my biggest thing was, how do I transition this? So I did a poll to see if an evening event would actually be better, and it was. So we did the evening event. I got a chance to sit down with Macy's, and I got them to agree to some really key things that I knew would bring a crowd, which was the alcohol, first of all. We hadn't had that in the previous shows. So we got the bar set up, and then the food. And then I think one of the other major takeaways that I've heard over the years is that the VIP space, it had always been on the third floor and kind of secluded. They wanted a VIP space that was more front and center. So negotiating with Macy's, I got them to remove the clothes off of the sales floor, and we created the VIP space right there on the sales floor.
That is amazing.
So
absolutely amazing. And so from everything that I've seen tonight, like you said, the vendors, so Fancy Spirits here, the caterers. You've just done such an amazing job. So I hope you know that. I know in the moment it's really hard to take it all in.
Yes, it's a lot.
But let me be the first, if I am the first to really tell you that you did such an amazing job tonight.
Thank you.
But Nia, how do you do this? Because I don't know if y'all know, Nia is the mother of twins. And I mean, she's a busy woman. You're
Yeah.
also in real estate.
Yes.
How do you hold it all together?
Honestly, I am a person of schedules and organization. Like I have
Yeah.
to be in front of my girl's schedule. It was to the point where I would put them to sleep and then I would be up working on the program. I think it's I don't know how many pages the program is, but I did every digital situation,
She did.
every letter, every graphic,
Yes.
all the edits.
Yes.
And so that was a large undertaking itself. But I just planned, while they're in daycare, I try to do as much as I can. And I work it all around my business. So just an insight on my schedule. I drop the girls off. I get them up at 7. I get them to school by 9.
Yeah.
And then I spend probably about 15 minutes at the school with them,
Yeah.
just kind of getting them ushered in.
Yeah.
Then I come home and I do an hour of lead gen, and then I do a 45-minute workout before I can go in my house. It's a rule of mine. I cannot cross through the garage until I stop and work out.
Okay.
And then I work on the fashion show for about 2 or 3 hours. And each day it was like, okay, well, today I need to solidify all the vendors. And then I need to, get in contact with Cron 4, which I did the interview with them.
I know. Congratulations. So if you haven't checked out Nia on Crown 4, you definitely want to check it out. That was amazing.
It was a great interview. The host of Crown 4, Olivia Horton, I actually invited her here tonight. So
Okay.
I'm so sad that she couldn't make it with us. But we had an amazing event. We had a great turnout. There's some new people here that I've always wanted to be introduced to. And I kind of use this as a platform to that as well.
Yeah.
I reached out to new broker owners that I hadn't known before.
Yeah.
I reached out to a lot of women that I saw them on Instagram and knew that I wanted to be in their space or I wanted to meet them, and I invited them to this event.
Yeah.
So I was very mindful on my agenda for the event. I was very mindful on what MACY'S wanted to do for this event, as well as what Women's Counsel goal was.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is important when you're planning an event to this magnitude.
Yeah.
You have to understand the perspectives of everyone involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Nia, the mission of Queen's Vantage Podcast is to empower women of color, and we've talked about this before. But one of the things that I appreciate about you so much is that your mission is always consistent.
Yes.
So even with bringing vendors of color into this space, but even as you've talked about your real estate and your journey in that in the past has always been to uplift families of color, women of color. And so I just think that's incredible, and it shows in everything that you do.
It's just something it's one of those things where you eat, live, drink, breathe your brand.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. Like, I love people. I love connecting with people. And Women Counsel gives me an avenue to do that.
Yeah.
And I can do it on a much larger scale than I would have been able to do on my own.
Yeah.
I also enjoy working with teams, working with other individuals and getting their input. And then again, like I said, I'm able to look at a situation and make it bigger than what it is. So I kind of play off of that. So I did create a team of committee for the fashion show.
Yeah.
And they would give me ideas and I would just blow them up.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the highlights tonight.
Okay.
Because we're nearing the end of the program. And so what are just some of the highlights that you've had tonight? And I'll share some of mine as well.
Honestly, my biggest highlight is the mocktail table. Like,
Okay.
when we got ready to do
I don't know, who's doing that mocktail table?
Fancy Spirits.
Fancy Spirits.
Fancy Spirits. Okay, so look, I called her and I was like, okay, I've been on Instagram and I see this mocktail table. It's got this dry ice. I wanted the floating, the smoke?
Yeah.
Like, that was what I really wanted. So
Okay.
even though it's something very small, minute, like, that was like the highlight of, yes, we got the cocktail table. But the VIP suite was big for me.
Okay.
Getting Macy's to agree to move their clothes off the sales floor. We draped the space. We have the highball tables or the high boy tables, and just really making it beautiful. That was kind of a highlight for me.
Yeah.
And then, if I can be totally honest, I don't really necessarily do it for the accolades or or the attention the day of. Like, today ain't about me. It's about Women's Counsel.
Yes.
I was just the tool in which was used to execute the vision and the idea that we needed to happen today.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to have been that for them. This is my last show. Okay, I'm saying that out loud because I needed to believe it.
I don't think she believes it.
This is my last show. I'm torn.
Yeah.
But I gotta focus on babies. I gotta focus on my career, and I'm getting married next year. So
Congratulations.
that's a whole nother event to freaking Yeah, it's
Yes.
a whole nother undertaking, which I'm doing on my own, kind of, because I'm good at it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Nia, I just want to personally thank you, Women Counsel of Realtors, and MACY'S for really allowing us into this space. And for me tonight, it was, and I'm going to hope not to get emotional.
Okay, don't get emotional. It's okay.
Because, having that opportunity to work with you and having you invite me into this space. And as I was walking up today, and I want to give a shout out to my beautiful cousin, Maya Yehuda. Because as I was walking into this space today and I saw this beautiful setup, and I felt like, Mama, I made it. So I really want to thank you for inviting me into this space and believing in me.
Of course.
And keeping me in mind along your own journey.
It wasn't even a question. So like when we started the conversations of what can we do, and okay, let's be mindful, right? Macy's want us to shop, right? The whole point of this is to make some money. So I was like, okay, in order for us to do that, we need to put things in the store that's going to draw people to those areas.
Yeah.
And when I mentioned a podcast and nobody said no, it was like, oh yeah. So I instantly called you up before it even really became an idea, before it was completely approved. I was just like, no, this is what's going to happen. Like I have creative control, right? Yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So it was no brainer.
Well, thank you so much. I still remember I was sitting in my car. I was getting ready to get out and start work. And when you gave me that call, and I remember sitting there, it was surreal. I think it hadn't really set in for like a couple months where I was like, wait, I'm really doing a live podcast.
You in Macy's, bro.
At Macy's?
Yes.
Right? And so one of the things that I want to just share this, because I think it's important for us to share, that Nia and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Vallejo, California. The crest we always got to represent, because never forget where I'm from. And so it's just been an honor, and it's really a full circle moment to be sitting at the other end of the table today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much just for everything that you do, your commitment to our community, your commitment to women, your commitment to to everything that you touch.
Yes.
And I know that you're going to thrive in this real estate space in anything that you touch.
Yeah.
I just know
that
that
you are.
Well,
if you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, give me a call, 510-779-8298.
Okay, tell them. Nia, honestly, where can they find you? Are you
I'm
on Instagram?
Facebook, Nia Williams _realtor. Where else? I just gave y'all my phone number. Don't be calling me unless it's really about business. I got a whole man at home. He'll be like, what's going on? But other than that, like the same way that I bring the passion, the attention to detail, and the inclusivity as far as making sure that I represent every party at the table is what I do for my clients as well. So if you are interested in buying or selling in the Bay Area, give me a call. I truly love what I do. I'm in love with it. Yeah. So allow me to represent you in the largest purchase that you'll make in your life.
Yeah. And she did that. I am so thrilled to be a homeowner, to have done it with you. So listen, yes, serious inquiries. Do not call my girl on no BS. Hit her up if you're really interested in purchasing, whether it's your first home or selling a property. Yes. Nia is an amazing realtor, and I vouch for her here on Queen's Vantage Podcast. Nia, as always, it is an absolute honor to welcome you to the throne. And I hope that you will continue to be a sister of the podcast and continue to come back.
Always. I'm going to continue to rep you to the day I die.
Thank you. So listen, y'all have heard it tonight. Two queens sitting down, the beautiful throne. Listen, if you're looking for something like this, hit up my cousin Maya Yehuda on Facebook. But listen, it's been a wonderful night here at Macy's for the Women Counsel of Realtors Fashion Gala. Remember, the crown may tilt, Nia, but it'll never
fall.
Never fall.
Yay! And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Hey, y'all. Thank you for watching another episode of Queen's Vantage Podcast. Please go subscribe on YouTube and don't forget to like, share, and comment.